The Association of European Conservatoires has now concluded a cycle of 3 Pop and Jazz platform annual meetings focused on the topic audience engagement. These 3 meetings have been organised within the framework of the Creative Europe funded project Full Score, with the aim of developing a better understanding of the topic, why it is relevant for the higher music education sector in Europe, and how it should be addressed from the perspective of higher music education institutions. Participants from all over Europe have attended 3 meetings to learn and share their views on the topic.
That Full Score has actually opened up the whole community to an area that we have been a part of before, but not in a structured way that we have now since the Full Score. So we've gone more into research, looking at the worldwide research. How is audience engagement linked to different cultural institutions worldwide? I think that education has a very, very big part to play in that role. So when we have addressed these topics, I think it's there are seeds sown in different parts of the conservatory community, so to speak. So people are taking these ideas with them back home, and they're thinking about how could we in education be better in audience engagement. So it comes with how do our students communicate, how do they communicate their music, and how do they balance the music to a new audience. What do they need to improve or to change within the way they're playing music in order to reach new audiences? So I think that this topic has put the emphasis on something really important, and it will of course take many years to develop that at all the conservatories, but I think there are some really good examples of seeds that have been planted, and now we're just going to see them growing.
Talking about audience engagement, with our organization we're really connecting the music education to music industry, and what I've noticed the past 3 years at the PGP is that institutions are really opening up to the music industry, which I think is really important when talking about audience engagement. For me that was really nice to see during those PGPs that there was a kind of development within the institutions to be willing to reach out and to find a way for collaborations, not only within the education industries, within the education institutions, but also towards the industry and vice versa.
And what I witnessed since the beginning of the project, first of all, we can say, I mean, being this meeting one of the most crowded of all, you know, with 170 delegates, that shows something, you know, the involvement and the word of mouth in between teachers, and the growth of the exchange in between institutions, with Erasmus exchanges, with the presence of students during this meeting, and all this has had a big impact. Is reflected in the necessity of exchanging more and more and more. So we have more students here. This year we have much more singing teachers involved in the Vocon group. This necessity of sharing is something that changes us, and it's already a great result.
What we're aiming to do, particularly through our annual meetings, is to encourage and facilitate discussion so that very real steps can be taken locally. I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring people together to reinforce the intention, because these changes can only be made very locally.
Audience engagement can have different meanings, so it can actually mean getting an audience to engage in arts or in music in our case. But what I found personally interesting is that it was also about for institutes to reach their own audience, namely the students. And it coincides, so if students are reached to become the performers who can reach the audience, then we have a cycle in our own educational systems.
Audience engagement is an issue that not only pop and jazz musicians face. Definitely classical musicians. It's a smaller percentage of the music industry, if you will. There is also other art forms, and we're here at Trinity Laban today in the dance school. Dance is another art form that faces a huge challenge in terms of audience engagement, and I think we have a lot to learn from each other, also from other sectors, and learn how, and other industries, and how they deal with this, because I think there is a lot to learn, and we have to evolve. We have to evolve with the times, and keep that balance between the art that our students and our communities are creating, and having an audience with whom to share and communicate this art.
One of the differences between pop music and classical music at the moment, though this is changing, is that pop music is aware of its context, it's aware of its audience. Pop music understands that to go to a concert, to dress up in certain clothes, to act in certain ways, is all part of the experience. Classical music has had this strange idea that to enjoy classical music is just the music, when of course it's not. Classical music exists within an audience context, but it hasn't been consciously aware of it. So one of the things that I think classical music can learn from pop music in terms of audience engagement is recognizing that when you go to an event, when you go to a theatre, this is all part of the experience. It's not just the music.
I got inspired to investigate this subject again and bring it back into discussion at the conservatory, so that I remind everybody, my students and my staff and myself, that we all take this subject of audience engagement up again and try to have a new discussion about how important it is and how we can work towards a better audience engagement in this new time we live in, with YouTube and streaming and concerts from home and people on their couches all the time staring at devices. Audience engagement is more important than ever. First day at school, remind young students that besides the fact that they're students, they're also up-and-coming young artists, and all artists need an audience, and how are they going to develop and communicate with their audience? We might as well just start talking about that on the first day of school. We need to reevaluate and talk about, all of us together, how do we get people to get out of their houses, get away from their computers, and come to a venue and share this experience with us live.
For Trinity Laban, involvement in the AEC's Full Score project has been incredibly instrumental in our thinking in recent years. We've been very much engaged with the audience engagement topic for a long time now. It's in fact a core module in our curriculum. But talking to colleagues from across Europe and understanding their perspectives has allowed us to deepen our offer with students, challenge our staff, and find new ways of talking about audiences and how we educate our musicians to understand them.
What has happened is that a very important topic has come to the surface that has been sleeping somewhere where it shouldn't have been sleeping. So it is really a reality check for the whole sector, I think. We've learned that we must look beyond any kind of borders ourselves as educators to become really flexible and apply models that we have not learned ourselves, to learn new methods of educational models. I've also learned that in terms of audience, there's a lot of people that we did not think about so far. Segments of the population that you don't necessarily consider your audience in the first place, but they are all audiences and they are all interested in music, and that's where we have to take the music to. So it's a largening of the whole view that we should look at. I go back in 2 weeks from now. We are having a PJ meeting right now. I'll be back with my students and it will have changed my mind. So I will work differently and I'll try out new things. That's very, very logic for me, and I think it is for many of the people who attend this conference. And so it affects everything. It changes the world.